Hey Doug,
Hello, Sean.
we're trying a different format here today where you're front and center in the camera and I'm behind the camera, so hopefully everybody can hear us okay.
Alrighty, what's our topic
Probably
today?
be a little more up close and personal. Today our topic is how to make sure somebody who tries to buy your house is actually qualified to buy your house and is going to likely be able to close or to purchase your home. Rather than the bad thing to happen would be you get a purchase agreement, you take your house off the market, 30-60 days go by, and then the closing doesn't happen because the buyer's financing fell through or didn't have any at all. So if you can tell us how do you make sure that your sellers can tell when a buyer is good.
Okay. Well, number one is nothing is 100%.
Okay.
So you can try to have perfection, but anytime you're dealing with a complicated subject like mortgage financing on a home, especially in these days and times when there's a lot of new guidelines coming out for buyers to and for mortgage companies to qualify buyers.
Okay.
So, mainly though, what you want to do is when you get the purchase agreement, you want to have a pre-qualification letter from the buyer's lender. Now that is just what it says. It's a pre-qualification letter, meaning pre-purchase. So the question then becomes is how solid is that pre-qualification letter? Most pre-qualification letters say yes. We've talked to the buyer and they have, it sounds like they can buy a house in this price range.
Okay.
So what we want to do is the ultimate for a seller is to have everything nailed down as much as possible before you accept the agreement. So let's say there's three types of buyers. One without a pre-qualification letter, and you'd probably not want to accept an offer unless you saw at least a pre-qualification letter that they talked to some mortgage banker or some mortgage lender. Or number two, you get the pre-qualification letter. Or number three is another form that not many sellers and or buyers are using. It's I'll just hold it up, but it's it's called a buyer's financial disclosure statement. And just show that to you quick. It's a 2-page document that the buyer's mortgage loan officer fills out. And the reason a lot of people don't fill this out is because a lot of buyers haven't had that long of a relationship yet with their mortgage lender to answer some of these questions. Maybe they just got the pre-qualification letter because all of a sudden they wanted to buy your house.
Okay. So, what would be some of those questions?
Well, some of the questions is, has the lender verified the buyer's social security number? There are people out there that are identity theft. Has the lender received an actual mortgage application and started the process? That's interesting to know. And as a buyer, you might want to consider having this ready to go because on the buyer side of it, the more information, the stronger your offer is as far as price, earnest money, and closing date for the terms of the offer, the better chance you will to get the price of the house or just to get the house. On the seller side of it, it's good to have all these questions answered when you're looking at the offer because you know the buyer's done their homework. Now again, I'm saying that this is the ultimate. So be sure to ask your real estate agent about this and what they think about the buyer's financial disclosure statement accompanying a purchase agreement on your house.
Because this is actually this is a Minnesota Association of Realtors approved
form.
Realtor form.
And actually the lender has to sign this letter and the buyer, and it has some pretty interesting, it doesn't get into detailed financial or privacy information on the buyer, but it asks them, have you seen the pay stubs from the buyer's workplace? Have you seen any copies of W-2 forms?
Right, it's kind of like asking very specific questions that will give you an idea of just how much progress has been made.
Because this is what can happen, and buyers beware too here that you might have a job where you get 10 hours of overtime a week.
Okay.
And you might have been getting that now for the last 6 months, and hey, you know, I can qualify for this mortgage. When the mortgage loan officer, when you talk to them on the phone, a lot of times you just do that, or you fill out an application online. You put in what you've been earning for the past 6 months.
Right.
Well, under the guidelines, the mortgage company can't use your overtime unless it's been averaged out for 2 years.
Okay.
So some people forget about that, and all of a sudden, whoops! Now I'm not qualified.
Yeah, like the buyer didn't know. The loan officer didn't ask.
Didn't ask.
And then oops.
Oops. We don't want oops.
Oops is bad.
Oops is bad.
Okay.
So, ultimate, try to get this. If not, ask some of the questions just verbally of the real estate agent that's representing the buyer or the buyer themselves. And kind of use this as your guideline and see how far along the process it is, and then make adjustments to how you're going to accept the offer based on that. Maybe you say, okay, well, I'll accept your offer contingent on you getting me this form in 2 days.
Right.
If you don't get it to me in 2
don't
days.
make it a deal breaker.
Yeah.
You want to try to keep that buyer.
Keep the buyer, and but hey, if you don't come up with some more information, I don't know. Okay.
And Doug, just to recap too, you work with some of the top loan officers in the area, so they have been through this many times, either getting questions on behalf of their buyers who want to buy homes, or to help out if you have a question when you get a purchase agreement on one of your listings.
Yeah.
And then also, just so people kind of, if they don't know you that well, you actually have a background in the loan industry. You were a loan officer for many, many years.
Right. And so...
And you used to own a mortgage company and everything.
Right. So the thing is that if you're really serious about buying a home, why not get your financing in place? It doesn't cost you anything.
And you're going to have to do it anyway.
You're going to have to do it anyway. So let's just start the process, start going, be upfront with the loan officer that you were going to say, hey, I might or might not buy a house. But if I do find the right one at the right price, I want to be able to move and make sure the seller's happy with me so that I can get a good price on the house. You as a seller, you can ask the buyer, well, why haven't you proceeded ahead with this yet? What's the holdback? I mean, don't you really want to buy, or are you...
Before I take the house off the market for 30 or 60 days, especially in this market, I'd really like to feel comfortable that you have your ducks in a row and this is going to happen.
Exactly. So
as best you can.
As best as you can. So, a lot of people are familiar with buying a car. Oh, I like this car. Oh, financing. That's usually a second thought. And my recommendation is maybe don't treat this like buying a car. It's one of the biggest purchases most people ever make. And why not just plan ahead? A little bit of planning will help everybody in the long run. And because maybe there is a glitch in your finances, and all of a sudden your loan officer says, oh, you got to wait a couple months so we can work these details out before you can really buy.
Yeah, or you can buy a bigger house.
Yeah, or you can buy more. Yeah,
right.
So there you go.
Well, thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.